Some weird lines in the swim and some even weirder lap counting going on. This is the T100 Triathlon World Tour Round 8, and by that skyline you can clearly guess it. We're in the Middle East today. We are in Dubai. This is the men's race. The women's race will be coming up later this week, and it's 1 week after the Ironman 70.3 World Championship. So you have a group of guys here that have raced the weekend before, a tough one I might add, and have had a long travel in order to get here to the start line. And you have some other guys like Mika Not, for example, who have decided to skip that race in order to get a good training block in to really perform in those last two T100 races of the season. Martin van Riel has done that as well. Obviously, the reigning champion not had the season so far he would have liked. Could he turn it around? And the big guy is here as well. It's, of course, Hayden Wilde. 5 out of 5. He's got the perfect score. He does not even need to be here on the start line, but he still is because he loves racing and, of course, because he's Hayden Wilde. Could he make it 6 out of 6 today? This is the standings after Wollongong. We got Jelle Geens in second place right there. He's the world champion again for the second time in a row, and he's not here today, as well as Rico Bogen. So Mika Not, Mathis Magirier could really have a step up today. And these are some of the other favorites. Jonas Schomburg, he raced in Marbella, he got fourth there, really good result for him. A week later he's here. What would he be like? Sam Dickinson, Morgan Pearson, Gregory Barnaby are some of the other guys that could do well. And Jason West, well, if he can get onto the run course in good position, he is absolutely lethal. We all know that. The athletes are lining up now, and we are going to take a look at the swim course. 2 laps, which means, of course, 1 Aussie exit, so that the athletes, they can see themselves and can look at who's behind and who is in front of them. They line up now. They get into the water, as always, sprinting for prime position. Really fast start, of course. Some guys at the back, dolphin diving like 20 meters into the race. You're gonna lose some time there, buddy. 31.8 degrees though, so really hot, as you might have guessed, because the race is in the Middle East, but the water temperature is crazy. 30.5 degrees with no wetsuit allowed, of course, because this is like swimming in a hot tub. So this, of course, suits the better swimmers. And one of them was on the front, right from the gun. It's Vincent Louis in that purple cap, and he is driving the pace. He is absolutely flying in those first couple of meters, trying to get a split. And in the row behind him, you see like 5-6 guys just in one line. So it's very spread out right now in some sort of trident shape. Vincent is on the right, but the racing line is much further on the left, as we can clearly see here. So the middle of the pack decides we're going to go left. We're going to follow the first athlete that's going the direct way. Vincent here is doing some more meters, some unnecessary meters for some. But there must be a reason behind this, and we will see in the second lap why Vincent is doing this. A few guys still decided to follow him, but the majority going the straighter line. Fast forward to the turning point though, everything came back together, and after 7 minutes of racing, it is really strung out, and the first few gaps are starting to appear. On the bottom right, the first gap, and 6 guys from the front. You can see the gap is opening up right now. Vincent Louis still driving the pace. And after just under 10 minutes, a clear separation has been made with 6 guys at the front group, but we did not know who has made the bridge, who is caught behind that split in the second group. Again, Vincent taking a bit of a different line, because you are aiming for the left of those 2 white buoys at the beach. You go to the Aussie exit though, and of course it's Vincent leading out of the water for the first time with his custom suit looking absolutely fly. Who is in that second group? We would get the time gaps here now as well. It's Vincent leading ahead of Morgan Pearson, who is just on his legs. And then there's Martin van Riel. We see him here coming around with Jonas Schomburg in his tow. And the last 2 guys that made it are Sam Dickinson and Willy Hirsch. So a really good front group, but it all depended on would Vincent Louis keep going here. The second group coming out right now, Mika Not in that red cap, and just behind him we see the big favorite Hayden Wilde coming out of the water. They are losing around 15 seconds to that first lead group. And apart from the big favorites, of course, Hayden Wilde, we also got Mathis Magirier there and Jason West on the legs of Wilde. If that is on the beginning of the run, Wilde is certainly in a bit of trouble. And this is really interesting now. Second lap, and the lines are completely different. Look at how much further to the right Vincent Louis is. And I'm not completely sure why that is. Neither were the commentators on the race. It has to have something to do with the currents. So I think at the ideal line, the currents must have been incredibly strong, and so Vincent decided to just play a bit of a different game and go much, much further to the right. This is interesting too. We have the swim paces, and the 113 is not that lightning quick. So this means that the swim was really hard for other reasons. Of course, the heat, and also because of those currents. We see now here at the second turning point, the gaps are really, really starting to grow. This is incredibly, incredibly good what Vincent Luis is doing for himself and for the front group. And again, you see him going to the right, actively away from the racing line. The chasing group does not do this. And that's why the gap is growing and growing and growing every time you look at your screen. And at this point, the gap is much more than 30 seconds. So for the second group, this is all about damage limitation right now. How much would they lose coming out of the water? As we skip forward to this, look at your left. Morgan Pearson, the cheeky guy, going a different line than the different line guy Vincent Luis, sprinting out of the water and actually taking the fastest time into T1. Vincent Luis coming out second, and this is basically how they got out of transition as well. Sam Dickinson managed to get in front of Vincent Luis, Jonas Schomburg there in fourth place, and Martin van Riel and Willy Hirsch with a little gap. But where was that second group? The guys are already getting out of T1, and only now the second group gets in. Mika Not leading the pack with Hayden Wild just behind him in second, we see. And these are the swim times. Morgan Pearson leading, while Mika Not is leading that Jace group, with Will Draper being far behind at this point, and they make their way out of transition onto the run course. And we look at the gaps. Hayden Wild 1 minute 9 seconds behind the front of the race, with Willy Hirsch being the last of the chase group already at 15 seconds. Mika Not just behind him, and Mathis Magirier lost a bit of time here in that transition. He has some ground to make up in order to get to Hayden Wild's wheel. We look at the bike course. It's a 14-kilometer stretch that leads us onto the main part of the circuit. We have 8 laps, 8 very, very technical laps. You see a lot of dead turns here. Every lap 8.2 kilometers. And so this is one for the good to very good bike handlers that make up time in those corners. And the only chance for that front group to try and win the race is to stay in front of Hayden Wild. So they needed to push on, but we can see Morgan Pearson here right from the start. He's in the base bars on a flat stretch of road. This is not the most aerodynamic position, of course, so he's not pushing on full gas. He is just a little bit waiting around for somebody to come. And Sam Dickinson does just that. He goes in front, gives him a little look, saying, we need to push on in order to stay in front of Hayden Wild. If he catches up, we are doomed. Hayden, meanwhile, he has the fastest T1. The only person out of everybody to stay under a minute in that first transition. And he gets 15 seconds on Mathis Magirier. So Mathis losing time in transition, really having to cover some ground in order to get back to Hayden Wild if he wants any chance to get a ride to the front, because Hayden Wild, he would not be waiting for anyone. But would he even need to close that gap? With the front group like this, he could even just get on the run with a minute back and he would probably still win. Martin van Riel now, just a few minutes later, going past Sam Dickinson, and this is the first time we see somebody actually push at the front of the race. He tried to keep Hayden behind, but was it too little, too late, and how would Hayden fare? We see Mika Not and Mathis Magirier, he's caught up now. Mika getting the draft from the motorbike, so every single inch of slipstream they can get, they take, because they need to stay on the best biker right now, Hayden Wild. And as we get onto that circuit, on the left you can see part of the circuit. The athletes just joining now, and I want to talk about something really interesting, what the PTO did really well again this season. Feed zones. They are putting this feed zone at the perfect position. Upper bridge, so the speed is very, very low. Everybody's out of the arrow position. They're in the base bar, speed is very low, and you have a good visibility of the athletes coming up for all the volunteers. That's really important. Of course, it's not perfect because those are still volunteers, so not everybody will get a bottle and there will be some mishaps, but it is so important for these feed zones to be at a right place. If you're somewhere with 60 kph, nobody's gonna get a bottle. Like this, 30k, Vincent Louis still not managing to get one, but the chances are just so much higher. So really, really good placement there of that first feed zone. The big question now though, where is Hayden Wild? Did he already made some inroads into those front group, or does the front group finally get it together and do they manage to stay in front of Hayden Wild? We see here Jonas Schomburg coming up to that line at 40.49 minutes, and as we look at Hayden Wild, he gets up there at 41.26. So they already lost a significant amount of time to Hayden, who is just going his own pace over this little rise as well. And we all knew what would be coming next. The catch would not be far now. And this pace does certainly not come without its victims. Mathis Magirier now behind Hayden, and on the left hand side it's Mika Noth, who is now just slightly being distanced. And he's got a big problem now because they are catching up to Willi Hirsch, who is now within their group and coming up to this roundabout. Mika is pushing. Mika is really focusing on getting as aero as possible, and he's trying to get to the front to Mathis Magirier again. And they go into this roundabout, and Mika is just not far enough side by side with Willi Hirsch, so he has to get out of the aero position, even break into this roundabout, and that's all she wrote for Mika Noth. That 5, maybe 3 second gap is already enough, so he would never catch on with that group again. And it's unfortunate, but it's the way it is. You always need to be right at the pace, and he just wasn't at that point, and he got distanced Martin van Riel here at the front. And as we see now, Hayden Wild has got only 25 seconds to the front of the race, and only 10 seconds now as we move to the next checkpoint. So he has caught up. He's really in the mix now with the front group, and Morgan Pearson realizes that, goes over the top of Martin van Riel over the aid station, but it's just too little too late, and one corner further Hayden Wild has caught up with the front group after not even an hour of racing, and after not even completing a single lap. Hayden Wild has made up over a minute on these first guys, and he is still pushing on. You see him here already pushing. Jonas Schomburg not really pushing as hard, and so Hayden is already overtaking the next guy. This is important for Mathis Magirier now. If he gets distance like it happened with Mika Noth, it's almost certainly that he will not get back on, and so he moves up and he goes past Vincent Louis, but he cannot complete this move before the corner entry, and so he is definitely not in the ideal line right here, and he is losing some further time going out of this corner as well. As we look up the road though, there's something lying actually on the road, and I'll pause it right here because this is Martin van Riel's visor. As we look at Hayden gesturing to literally anybody who'll listen, get that visor off the road, and this is something, in my opinion, it really should not happen. You can lose a bottle because of whatever, but losing a visor, it is really dangerous, because if you go over a visor, a puncture is almost guaranteed. These sharp plastic edges. So Martin van Riel losing his visor there, definitely not ideal also for him, because there's a lot of light here. So visibility could potentially become an issue for him later in that race. But we see Hayden here, not even 3 minutes later, he's already behind Martin, the leader of the race, and goes past. And after 55 minutes of racing, Hayden Wild is in the lead, gives Martin van Riel, his helmet partner, a little look and just goes. There's nothing anyone can do about this right now. He is so dominant, he is so fast. And this is how we get into the second lap. You see here, Hayden finishing his first, starting his second lap. Lap counting will be really important later on, so I tried to focus on that a little bit more. Mathis Magirier to this point was the fastest because he had to catch up with Hayden a little bit after his bad transition, and Hayden Wild is just miles in front of everybody else when it comes to the speed up until this point of the race. And it would be really interesting now, does Hayden just explode away, leave everyone behind and win by 5 minutes, or would actually somebody try to hold on, and could anybody hold on? So this is basically how we're setting up for the rest of this bike leg. Who can stay with Hayden Wild? One of them is Martin van Riel. We see here losing his visor. It certainly makes a difference because the sun in your eyes with such a technical course, it's not ideal, definitely. But that was not the only thing flying off. Just a few minutes later, we see right here Mathis Magirier losing his bottle. He tries to get into the aero position and loses his bottle. Definitely not intentional, but you can just see what happens when these guys are racing on the limit, and losing nutrition is not ideal at all. This is now already lap 3. Jonas Schomburg just starting his lap 3. So exactly one lap later, unfortunately, there was no sign of Hayden crossing the line. But we are now in lap 3. Really important to remember. And this is how you should approach a corner. Hayden Wild gets off the gas, takes a drink, puts the bottle back in, then braking, and then turning. A perfect corner, getting some nutrition in, and really putting on a masterclass when it comes to bike tactics and performance is Hayden here. And the group has whittled down. It's only 3 guys now, with the 4th guy just coming around that corner right here. You can see him on the other side. It's Jonas Schomburg. And everybody else has been distanced. This race has been blown to pieces, but someone has been able to stay with Hayden Wild. And those someones are Martin van Riel and Mathis Magirier. Here we see Hayden again, just extremely powerful. And this is so picturesque of Hayden Wild. Mathis goes in front of him before this little hairpin turn. And Hayden Wild does not like that. You see him, he's turning and he's much quicker. He's better on the brakes, he's better on the gas. And so he does not let that gap go out. Instead, what Hayden Wild does, you see it here now on this rise, he's just coming back straight away. Sam Dickinson now actually made his way back a little bit, but would he be able to keep with that group? We're not sure. Hayden Wild just said to Mathis Magirier, I don't like that, I'm gonna go in front again, and there's nothing you can do. This is the end of the lap 3, starting lap 4 for Hayden Wild. Remember this, again, really important, you need to count the laps. And Hayden here starting lap 4, with Hayden now being able to set into a little bit of a rhythm, pushing his own pace, not going over the limit. But this pace is too much for 90% of the field, and almost nobody can keep up. One lap later, we are at the end of lap 4 now. So we start lap 5 after this one. We have 3 more laps to go. Hayden still in front. Nothing changed over this lap. The others trying to hang on, and they are hanging on right now. But how much of a toll does this take when we move to the run? On your right hand side, you see the transition area as well, as we can now have a look at the bike times of checkpoint 48. Hayden Wild leading with Van Riel the last in the group. Sam Dickinson, he just about managed to get on, but he blew up 47 seconds behind now. And Mika Nod and everybody else over 1 minute behind the leader of this race. And these gaps would only extend. Next lap, lap 6 now. 5 is completed, lap 6. So lap 7 and 8 still to come. The leaders get over the line. And again, it's just Hayden Wild in front. Sam Dickinson here now, starting lap 7. Hayden obviously already did that. We did not see him cross the finish line at the 7th lap, but this is important. So I wanted to see every single finish line crossing. Sam Dickinson is the guy we are with right now, and he's already 1 minute 25 behind now after 63 Ks. Mika Nod 1 minute 24 just in front of him. He's moved up to P4, and this group is basically just 2 guys again, so not really any firepower where you can work and try to catch up to Hayden Wild, which would not be easy. And now we come to an important point. Hayden starting his last lap, lap 7 of 8 right now, and this means that the front group only has 1 more lap of 8 kilometers to go before they start the run. Mika Nod now already 1 minute 55 back, with Sam Dickinson 2 minutes behind. So Hayden has blown this race to pieces. And the 6th guy, Jonas Schomburg, who got 4th a week before this, already loses 3 minutes, with Gregory Barnaby losing 3:36 and Morgan Pearson 3 minutes and 36 seconds behind. So at this point, Hayden Wild and the front guys, they would guess the winner from their group. And we see here T100 final lap. So this is definitely their final lap. We also counted. There is no mistake here, but this is important because Hayden Wild does not realize this. And they come up over the hill for one last time. On your right hand side, there's the transition. Look what Hayden Wild does. He's still clipped in, he's looking behind. Is he really going into transition? Or does he not know that we are already done with the bike part? Hayden, you need to go right. Hayden, Hayden, Hayden. Okay. He just moved past. And we're thinking, what is going on? Is the lap counter wrong? But here on the right hand side, he gets reminded and he says, no, I have one more lap to go. And this is incredible drama. And we think, okay, Mathis Magirier and Martin van Riel, now is your chance to get a really, really good result. But we watch, and suddenly Mathis Magirier coming into the shot, he just followed Hayden Wild. And he does another lap as well. We are not sure though where Martin van Riel is at this point. Would he be the guy to profit from all of this? Did he get into transition? But as we move forward just a bit further onto the course, we see Martin van Riel coming into shot. He had already clipped out, but he got onto the next lap because Hayden Wild did so. And this drama, I will make a whole other video about it because it's so much to unravel and you could not possibly do this in under 30 minutes. So I wanted to do another video. Mika Noot is now the next guy though. Will he at least get the message and get into transition? Can he count 8 out of 8 laps? And the good news is he gets to his shoes and he goes into transition. Sam Dickinson was in front of him though. So he's actually leading the race now and he's a bit, where's everybody else? Why am I the first guy in transition? Normally 3 bikes would be there. And he's not sure what is happening. He's looking around. He's asking, where are the front 3 guys? And he's now getting told, they're not here. We don't know what happened. At this point, nobody knew why Hayden Wild and the other guys did not get into transition. All they knew was, okay, Sam Dickinson is first and Mika Noot coming in around 10 seconds behind him is second place on the road. So let's get going because there is still a T100 victory on the line. We see Mika Noot now in transition, putting on his socks, putting on his shoes. You're in second place. And this is a big chance for Mika to finally get his first T100 victory, which is incredible because 3 guys just went one more lap. Gregory Barnaby comes in. 3rd guy. Beautiful bike, by the way. So he's within a real shot of the podium right now. We take a look at the standings. Mathis Magirier biked the fastest. Hayden Wild with a really, really fast time, as well as Martin van Riel, who was the only one who got out of the water first and also stuck with the front group. But they went on to do one more lap. And the problem is, at the run course, we have another lapped course. We have another 8 laps. So hopefully everybody would get their counting right now. Sam Dickinson, he meets Mika Noot for the first time and they just look at each other. Nobody has any idea what's going on, why the front 3 did that. They're probably not even sure if they just made a mistake. Maybe they went in 1 lap too early. Nobody knew what was going on at this point, but Hayden Wild finished the lap. So did the other 2. And as he comes into transition, you look at the right-hand side of those barriers. Sam Dickinson is already starting his 2nd lap. Hayden Wild is 1 lap down now, but he's not without a shot at a top 10 finish. This obviously doesn't help Hayden, and he is really pissed. But still, he's not completely out of contention, which is insane to say. As he takes the run course, he's looking around, he's screaming, he's throwing a tantrum right now, which is kind of understandable. But Hayden, at the end of the day, I'm almost sure it was his own fault there. We see Mika Noot, and Hayden is trying to unlap himself right now. Obviously, starting out with a blistering pace, as you might expect. And after a few minutes later, he already caught Mika. And Mika's asking, what's going on? And Hayden, I don't know what's going on. Nobody knew what was going on. Hayden probably said something along the lines of, you went a lap too short. And the same goes for Sam Dickinson, who's catching some stray here as well. Hayden, obviously with an insane pace. But he's still, in his mind, the only guy that did it right. In his mind, everybody else did it wrong. He cannot accept that he made a mistake there, which in my opinion, he honestly did. Again, I'm gonna do a full video where we break down everything. It's not just black and white, but Hayden Wild definitely is not the only victim here. He moves now past Sam Dickinson, which would be much more than the net race lead. But there were words again, Hayden coming up and he's already talking and he's already saying, Sam, you made a mistake there. And Sam Dickinson is obviously not sure, but he needs to get focused. Every athlete, again, they need to stay focused on their race, on their effort, because this is not over and this race is still going on. And there's still an insane amount of prize money on the line and up for grabs. So would Hayden Wild do the incredibly impossible comeback and actually win the race while doing one more lap? Well, I can spoiler that, no, because the gap was just a little bit too big for this. But Hayden, he's still just gesturing and not clearly not focused on the run. And this would definitely not be the fastest run we've ever seen. Again, we're going to count laps here. Sam Dickinson, he is moving on to his third lap now. He finished lap 2. He's moving on to lap 3 as he gets some nutrition in, which at this sort of race is really important. 31.8 degrees. It's really hot right now. We move one lap forward and Mika Noth has caught up to Sam Dickinson and he moves into the net race lead while he also moves on to lap 4. So half the run done. Morgan Pearson is at 1 minute 10 on the next checkpoint though. We will see in just a moment. He's already at 1 minute 01. Gregory Barnaby at 1 minute 20. So there was still an open battle for the podium, maybe even the win, with Mika Noth now being in prime position for his first T100 victory. Jonas Schomburg and everybody behind him. 1 minute 50 plus. It's almost, you seem out of contention at that point and they would not compete for the race victory, but they're still in for a good result. Hayden Wild though, 6 minutes and 40 down, with Mathis Magirier and Martin van Riel even further behind. And as we fast forward, I want to take a quick look how Mika Noth comes out of this corner. Very controlled, not too hot into the corner, not too hot out of the corner, very controlled pace. But compare this to Morgan Pearson, who's now only 50 seconds behind it. He sends this corner and look how he pushes out of it. Full gas, he's on a mission. He is trying to get up to the front of the race. He's also gunning for his first T100 victory like you'd expect, and he takes this chance brilliantly. Unfortunately now we have a little bit of a split screen, but I still wanted to include Morgan Pearson going on his 5th lap. Mika Noth and Sam Dickinson just in front, they already went through. And Morgan Pearson is now going for a little move here on Sam Dickinson. Look at the pace difference that is there between these two athletes. Pearson absolutely sending this run course and he's catching up to Sam Dickinson in a really fast pace. And just a few moments later, he actually goes past Sam Dickinson and is now only 38 seconds behind Mika Noth. So an incredible run performance from Morgan Pearson up to this point. Would he be able to keep going? Mika Noth now starting lap 6 of 8. We see here he's coming around a lapped athlete. And this is again really important because in the background we see Morgan Pearson. After one lap, he's almost caught up. At the last checkpoint, he was 12 seconds behind Noth, and now this is even less. So Mika is in real trouble now to lose this lead to a flying Morgan Pearson, who is putting on the run of probably his life, definitely of the T100 season so far. And Mika Noth would get overtaken into this little downhill. Really interesting. Look at the pace difference. Morgan Pearson just goes past Mika, while Mika is also pouring some water over his head. So definitely not ideal, but the speed difference is absolutely insane. Morgan Pearson, 1 lap later again, lap 7 of 8 now. He's starting his second to last lap. 2 more laps to go. He gets some nutrition again. This is basically a routine now. Nothing really to see. Greg Barnaby, meanwhile, is into 3rd because he overtook Sam Dickinson. And we see Sam Dickinson being here overtaken by Jason West as well, who's finally putting on a good run again after having an extremely difficult season. So could Jason West get the podium? Or could Gregory Barnaby hold on for 3rd place? The top 2 would seem to be almost finished. But just a few minutes after Morgan crossing the line to start his second to last lap, we see this. It's actually his final lap, or so the ticker thought. And I can tell you now, the ticker was wrong and Morgan Pearson was right. He actually had 1 more lap to go, but he's being told here that he needs to get to the finish line. And he does exactly what he should do, asking, am I wrong? No, you're not. You have 1 more lap. And so he looks at the finish and he goes past. But this is not the only thing crazy. And the next shot we have is Mika Noth running to the finish line. And he's looking around confused. Have I won this race? Where's Morgan Pearson? He lifts his arms up in the air, but he is not sure. And look around, nobody was sure at this point what happened here. He's saying what a disaster. But as we now know, Mika Not was actually in the wrong. So another miscount, which means 2 miscounts in one race. Absolutely incredible. I've never seen anything like it. And would Gregory Barnaby turn also left and do it wrong? No, he does it right as well. He goes on to his last lap, but the problem is the ticker still says it's finished. And apparently the athletes were told to get to the finish line. And so does Vincent Louis. He comes in looking around, all confused. I've just come second here. Did I or did I not? What's going on? Nobody knew what was going on. Shake hands there. And Sam Dickinson does the same mistake. Jason West went another lap, but Sam Dickinson actually came in. And so these 3 guys think they've won the race because the other ones went 1 lap too long, but actually they didn't. And Morgan Pearson was the only one or the first one to do it right. He went for another lap, but as he comes into the finish, there are like 8 athletes there already. So he's confused what's going on. He thought he'd won the race, which is incredible because he actually did. And at the end of the day, they decided to give Morgan the race win. So he won the race because they took the checkpoints of lap 7 of 8. And again, I'm going to do another full video about this. Jan Frodeno also really confused right now. And these are the overall stand. Morgan Pearson winning his first race ahead of Mika Not and Gregory Barnaby. This is the podium. Jason West, Vincent Louis, Sam Dickinson, Jonas Schomburg and Hayden Wild actually managed to get up to the front of the race, scoring a top 10 with Felipe Azevedo and Peter Hemmerich, the other guys that are still in the top 10. So an incredibly chaotic race. Would they get the issue fixed before the women's race though? Because the women's race was only 3 hours later. I can spoiler you, that video will be coming in the next couple of days. I hope you like this one. If you don't want to miss the full analysis of what happened in the men's race, then subscribe. And next week I'm going to have the full video up with all the different sides and a lot of explaining in order to somehow and somewhat get a grip of what happened here today. I'll see you soon. Bye bye.